Hello, my name's Alastair Cameron. I'm the project manager for the National Trust. I'm going to tell you a little bit today about the Cotehele Intertidal project on the banks of the River Tamar. This project's all about creating new intertidal habitat on a 1.7 hectare field just north of Cotehele Quay. The issue that the Trust faced with this field was that the banks were built in 1850s and with increased storminess, increased rainfall, higher sea levels, and a deteriorating bank. The sort of scenes we can see here were becoming more frequently and certainly predicted to become more frequent in the future. So that was the issue, but also there's a great opportunity here to create new, interesting habitat from a fairly low-grade agricultural field. So this project had been talked about for some time, but it was really in 2017 with the funding from Natural England for a feasibility study into the project and what could be achieved that we really started to move forward. This was initially carried out by Plymouth University and was subsequently peer-reviewed by Ken Pye Associates. And it really then gave us the confidence to be able to go forward and seek funding for this project so that we could show it could become a reality. This was very much in line with the Trust's policy published in their Shifting Shores document, which really tried to look at how we manage and how we change with a changing coastline around our properties all around the country. In 2019, we were able to realise the funds for this project, which came both from the Trust's Enterprise Neptune Fund, a campaign for protection and management of the coastline, and from the Environment Agency's Water Environment Improvement Fund. With that money in place, we were able to appoint Bailey Partnership to act as lead consultants for the project and to start drawing up the plans to take that feasibility fund into reality and to start seeking the permissions required in order to get this project done. It was very important to the Trust and to the Environment Agency that we engage with the local community over this project and to gain their thoughts and views as to how it might proceed. So early in 2020, we arranged for some open days to be held at Cotehele, where people were invited to come along, talk to the team, talk to the project team, and to discuss the proposals and the project. We also had information about the project on our website, on site itself for those visitors who perhaps weren't part of the community but who use Cotehele and use this area a lot. And also we wrote to local schools, parish councils and other interested stakeholders in the area to inform them of what we were proposing to do and to get their feedback. Overall, the project was greeted with a lot of interest and a lot of support, and we were able then to proceed without any sort of major changes to those initial proposals from the start. But people were clearly keen to see, people were understanding of the change that we were needing to make, and were interested in what the outcomes might be. Here's the field in question. It's a field used by a farm tenant for grazing a small number of cattle through the summer months, and we felt relatively uninteresting in terms of habitats or species that were present. But obviously, in a highly designated area and doing fairly major changes to this field, we needed to carry out a number of assessments and surveys in order to make sure that what we were doing was not damaging to any of the particularly interesting or important habitat species or other features of interest in this area. So really a focus for our work throughout 2020, working towards trying to gain planning permission, was to carry out those surveys, of which were many. There's a little word cloud in the corner there for some of them, but it's almost too many to mention. But that was all required for planning permission and to make sure that none of our activities were going to be damaging. Thankfully, we were successful in getting planning permission towards the end of 2020, and were able then to plan for the work to take place in the dry months in the spring of 2021. And here's a photo of that work as it in the first phase of the work, which was to dig those channels you can see through the field to allow water to flow easily from where the breach would be. And then we were able to use the soil and clay from those channels to build a bank along the southern banks of the field to protect the car park from flooding when the tide came in. So this was very much in line with the Plymouth University work 2017, and was carried out in April for the summer so that we could allow everything to settle over the summer, to allow us to carry the breach later in the year, which was the best time of year to do that in terms of fish populations and the impact that our works might have on those. So in September of this year, we were able to carry out the second phase of the work, which was to reconnect the river to that field and to allow water to flood in. So early in September, on a long day's work with our contractors, Morecambe Construction, we were able to break through the bank, get the levels right to allow the water with the next high tide to start to flood into the field. And that's what's happened with the project. As the tides turned from neap to spring, the water moved in a little bit more each day until at the first spring tides it covered the field entirely, which is exactly what we wanted to happen, and very pleasing to see that. But perhaps more pleasing and more interestingly, it was great to see how quickly wildlife has moved to this new intertidal habitat. And we've seen herons feeding along the creeks, we've seen egrets and kingfishers, and we've even seen evidence that otters have been walking through the mud. So really amazing to see that change in such a short time, and hopefully with the other projects going on in the rest of the Tamar, that this is really good news for wildlife in this area. I'm now going to show you a short video to end this talk, and if there are any questions, I hope I'll be able to answer them. Thanks very much.
I'm Alastair Cameron. I'm the project manager for the Cotehele Intertidal Habitat Creation Project. What we're trying to do here today is to create a whole new habitat here at Cotehele, just north of the quay. We're in a field that was created in Victorian times by the building of the embankment you can see behind me. But today, with rising sea levels and climate change, we've realised a great opportunity to create new habitat for wildlife on this field, and to make a little bit of space for water, but really make lots of space for nature here at Cotehele. So earlier in the year, we created some channels within the field to allow the water to flood in. And today is the big day when we're actually breaking through the bank from the field to the river. As the next high tide comes in, we'll start to see water flowing into the field and wetting it, as it will do with every spring high tide for the coming years. This is really just the beginning of the project, because actually it's the change that we're going to see over the next 5, 10, 20 years that's the really exciting part. We're going to see a change from this pretty species poor grassy field into a new intertidal habitat, which will have reeds, it'll have mud, it'll have water, it'll have all sorts of different things, and that will attract all sorts of different wildlife, from birds, new insects. And we're doing this in partnership with the Environment Agency, who are working elsewhere on the river on other similar projects to make great changes for the river, great changes for wildlife here at Cotehele.
The intertidal habitat here that we're creating will help increase the biodiversity in this particular site, and also through the type of intertidal habitat that will be created, also fix the carbon in the air, making a positive contribution to addressing the climate emergency. So our vision for the Tamar is to create a better place for people and for wildlife. And to do that, we have to work together in partnership and all play a part in helping the environment and helping us to achieve that. And in moving towards that vision, we have a comprehensive programme of works that we work with valuable partners like National Trust and others in the catchment to put in place changes, to talk to people about the changes that they can make, and to embrace some of the new schemes that have been launched by the government to help those having an impact on the quality of the water environment, take those on board and make good use of them, all towards helping create a better place for people and for wildlife.